Now, let's be clear, I'm not talking about naively running around, spilling your guts to everybody, you know, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm not revealing love willy-nilly. But again, as Paul VI says, it's getting in touch with the Spirit who's in us. And once we're in touch with that Spirit that's within us and sensing the right moment, then we're able to stretch forward in the process of dialogue. Then I begin to reveal a little. And that revelation, as I say, needs to be affirmed or responded to. And so I reveal a little more. And so on to the deepening of our relationships. But let's be clear, that process involves real risk. Relationships are risky business. When sometimes we stretch out and we find that dialogue is not affirmed, is not responded to, in fact might even be rejected, we can enter into a real crisis in relationship. We can often be badly hurt in our relationships when that happens. But I must admit, it seems to me that we have a choice. Either we take the risk when we sense that the moment's right, and we take the risk and stretch out, or we simply just stand on the pavement, and just watch life go by. But again, we're not simply saying yes to principles. As I said earlier, we're saying yes to the person of Jesus. And let's face it, just as it cost Jesus a lot when he said yes, so it may well cost us a lot when we say yes to relationships. I mean, Jesus was misunderstood when he stretched out. Jesus was hurt when he was rejected in his love. He was alienated from the community. And of course, ultimately, he finished with the cross. What we're talking about here in relationships is no game, no easy option. But, taking the risk to become the people that we're capable of being. Deep personal relationships are necessary for us to become the men and women we're capable of being. We really do need one another in relationships if we're going to grow to become the men and women we're capable of being. But that dialogue, that risk, demands real truth. We can't play about with people. We're integrating into our whole person, not only intellectually, but emotionally and sexually. We're entering into the whole you, the whole me, stretching out. And, that demands honesty. Because if there's not honesty in that stretching out, then people are going to be hurt, and indeed hurt badly. Maybe be a bit more, kind of precise and colourful, if you like, with this concept, which I think is so important. I remember a number of years ago, a young man coming to see me. He was already involved in a deep personal relationship. He was very, very much in love with a girl. But at work, there had been a girl who worked with him. And, most of the guys fancied her. And there was a wee bit of playing for her to see who could get the first date with her, etc. And, he played along with that game. And, inverted commas, he was lucky. And once he was kind of encouraged by his mates and pushed into it, he suddenly found that, he was too timing. He had a double thing going. One day, the girl said to him, I'm deeply in love with you. God, he was shattered. You see, for him, it only had been a game. It had been an ego trip. He was just trying to prove that he could still pull birds, inverted commas, when he wanted to. At least to his credit, now that he had arrived at that point, he wanted to try and be certain that the girl would not be hurt any more than she certainly was going to be hurt. And of course, at the same time, there was also the whole betrayal of his first relationship, of the one that was really important to him. All of us, please God, will have the grace of more than one deep relationship. Those of you who are married, priests, those of you who might be priests, those of you who are already in deep personal relationships and deep commitments. Sure, there's need for more and more relationships, deep relationships, but it does demand that we attempt to live them with complete honesty. Let me try to kind of make one final link as we come to the end of this session, something else for you to reflect on and to share with each other. In our model of spirituality, we've tried to see that love of self, love of neighbour, and love of God are, if you like, 3 points of the triangle, each flowing into the other. In the model, our love for one another, our relationships, as it were, they're kind of shadows of our love for God. St. Thomas Aquinas says that our human love is analogous to God's love. I know when I'm celebrating at a wedding, I always, in my marriage homily, make the point to the couple that it's, through their love for each other that God's love is made present to them. And indeed, for the rest of us, their love is our entry into God's love for us. We can't really talk about the love of God unless we experience the reality of human love. Also, when I take the risk of revealing a little of myself, a little of my love to another person, then in fact I'm revealing at the same time the God journey in my life. Through the revealing of the mystery of my own story, of God's working in me, through that revelation, at the same time, I'm revealing a little of God's love. God, as it were, makes use of my story. God makes use of your story to reveal the good news. The good news which is his spontaneous, unconditional love. This whole journey of revelation is exciting. It's exciting because in it we're able to discover ourselves. We're able to enrich one another, and we're able to be enriched by one another. And all of that allows us to have a taste of the unbelievable and unconditional love that God has for us.